Welcome to another Empires and Puzzles books sneak peek preview video for this week's raid tournament. Each week on either Friday or Saturday, I share the details of the upcoming raid tournament for Sunday. I will also discuss the details of the team and strategy that I'll use for my tournament defense. In these videos, I also share the defense team that took #1 the last time we had this event. If you're interested in knowing each week which tournament is coming, please subscribe to the channel. So let me just say today it's going to be kind of down and dirty and quick and easy. I have a bunch going on, so I'm not going to be able to add a bunch of graphics and images to this week's video, but I want to make sure you all have the details and some suggestions so you can get to work. So let's get into looking at this week's tournament. It should be a 5-star buff booster tournament without any dark heroes. We had a similar buff booster just a few weeks ago without any nature heroes. This will be very similar to that one. As there are no dark heroes, that means Holy will be strong, as there is no element that will be strong against them. Therefore, Holy would typically be the tank of choice. But the last time we had this event, this was before the last round of nerfs for Taloria, so we still saw plenty of Taloria tanks as well. As Taloria is still very strong, and many players have her maxed with emblems, we will see plenty of Taloria this week, I suspect. The last time we had this event, in the top 5, there were 3 Taloria tanks and 2 Guineveres. I would also anticipate seeing the new ninja hero Micah this time around, and possibly Guardian Owls and Onatels as tanks. Some players relying on TC20 level heroes still might be putting up Vivica or Justice for tanks. Keep in mind that having no dark heroes also means that Holy is not strong against any color, so they might not be our first choice when we're on offense. When there is an element missing, there is a temptation to use a full mono defense thinking all the heroes will be strong. I don't advise this unless you have the troops and emblems to justify it. Otherwise, forcing mono simply adds unnecessary weakness for slight gain. The last 5-star buff booster we had, I went full mono, and I definitely have troops and emblems to support it, and I got C ranking on my defense. So stay away from the mono unless you really have a solid team that you're confident will pull you through. As this event is a buff booster tournament, each buff adds a 20% attack booster. There are currently 144 various 5-stars available in the game. 54 of them add buffs to 1 or more allies. That is roughly 34%, so just keep in mind that 1 out of 3 5-stars provide some sort of buff. That figure is not even counting all the hero months that provide element to links, which often acts as buffs. When we take out the dark heroes, we still have 46 heroes that add buffs. That said, there are plenty of heroes for us to discuss. I'm going to start by highlighting a very special hero that adds 4 buffs, 4, to all allies. That hero is a Jeer, the ice hero. If you have a Jeer maxed, it might be worth considering him even as tank. Each of those 4 buffs will add 20% more attack, bringing it to a total of 80% more attack for all 5 heroes on the team. That is huge, and it gets even larger if the other heroes are also adding buffs. There will be nature heroes running around this week, so he will have a target on his back, but it may be worth considering the risk. You decide. There are a few other heroes that add 3 buffs to allies. Francois adds 3 buffs to all allies, while Ares and Sif add 3 buffs to themselves and to the nearby allies. If you have these heroes, they might be worth considering for your team, but I wouldn't think about them for tank. Possibly Sif. Tarluk adds 2 buffs to the entire team, while Kagan and Guinevere add 2 buffs to themselves and nearby allies. That is one more reason to consider Guinevere as tank. Micah, the ninja hero, adds 2 buffs, but the number of allies that get those buffs depending on the size of the ninja mana charge when it's set off. At this point, I'm just going to go through the list of other 5-stars that provide buffs. These are all worth considering. This list is in alphabetical order by element, and I'm not listing the heroes of the month that provide elemental links that work as buffs, unless they provide another buff. I'm not highlighting them because we generally do not double up on heroes of the same element on defense unless one of them is there because of the color that's not available for the week. That said, for this week, you may want to consider any holy hero of the month that has an elemental link that works as a buff. Here is the list of other 5-stars heroes that add buffs. If I miss any or you feel that I made a mistake, please post it in the comments. Fire heroes. in alphabetical order: Balder, Black Knight, Alina Costume, Garnet, Gazelle, Guardian Kong, Mitsuku, Puss in Boots, and Queen of Hearts, Reuben, Jeer, Vonda, and Zimkitha. Holy heroes: Guardian Owl, Inari, Odin, Anatel, Poseidon, Ranveer, and Vivica. For ice: Ariel, Glenda, King Arthur, Magni, Mickey, Perseus, and Raphael. And then our nature heroes: Alberic, Adamus, Elkanin Costume, Gregorian, Guardian Chameleon, Jade, Catalin Costume, Margit, Morgan Le Fay, and Taloria. It did not list any dark heroes since they are not available this week. In a buff booster event, it's also important to consider heroes that remove buffs. For this event, that'll be Vivica Costume, Ice heroes Frida and Snow White, but be careful with Snow White because she removes buffs and ailments from both sides, so you'll lose any of your hard-earned buffs. Nature heroes Evelyn, Zeline, and Guardian Chameleon. One hero to also be cautious about is Guardian Gazelle. She adds a buff to the entire team, but I did not list her previously because I wanted to warn you about her. When she adds that buff, she removes all other buffs that have been added, so I would be cautious about putting her on your team. One special hero to consider this week is the Hatter, as he steals the buffs from the enemy and randomly adds them to his allies. In addition to these buff heroes, I'd also always recommend serious consideration to any hero that provides any kind of defense down to the enemy or reduces their mana generation. Let's take a look at the winning team from the last time we had this tournament. The winning team only had a TP, team power, of 4583. They had as tank, not surprisingly, Guinevere. She very well might be the queen of this event. She was flanked by Vila and Tarlak, and the wings were Gravemaker and Gazelle. No surprise seeing Gravemaker there. He has been on more top 5 teams for 5-star tournaments than any other hero. So that was a pretty solid team. So which team am I going to run this week? I'm going to be looking at tanking with Odin, flanking with Glenda and Jeer, and then my wings will be Alberic and Frigg. I do like the chemistry between Odin and Frigg with the psychological play that it has on the attacker to try to figure out if they want to try to get rid of the holy tiles are on the board or the nature tiles. I think that's a good distraction. Glenda, I have a bunch of emblems on her. I like her as a new hero, and her attack boost will be a great buff for this event. Alberic gives the regeneration of health for everyone, which acts as a buff. And Jeer is one of my favorite snipers just because he resurrects and he can really change the course of an event by himself. So feel free to share your team in the comments below so myself and other viewers can comment on your setup. Feel free to criticize mine, add what you want. For this week's tournament, I hope your defenses are sturdy, attack strong, and tiles fortunate. Thanks for watching.